What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and more Blood and Plunder here, as we're starting a sort of a new mini-series on just looking at the different commanders for all the different nationalities. And part of what we'll do as sort of the start of that is to take a look at the generic commanders, as there are different flavors of that for each nation. And within that, then we have typically three types, going from untested to experienced to seasoned, and just kind of exploring some of the basic options there. So this is meant just as a quick overview of these different commanders, some of the different options they present as far as their rules and abilities, and just some like general ideas and guidelines on those. And the nice thing is here we'll kind of feature the latest of the cards here, just because it does lay out everything nice and easy on one or in one spot. Very useful to pick up, but not necessarily needed for the game. So we'll start off here with the English militia commanders, and typical here, as we again saw the different experience levels. You got some choices to make there as far as your army building, right? As you can see, the untested commander is actually 0 points. You go to 15 points for experience and 25 for seasoned if you want some of those higher end abilities. So the nice consideration there is obviously if you want to structure your list around just having more models in there, certainly going with the untested option might squeeze in like a whole nother unit for you, which could be could make the difference for you. Obviously, you're going to have reduced abilities compared to other people, so it's just how much points really can you afford to invest in your commander, and how much do you feel you need? Because again, you do get some nice abilities progressively as you work your way through that. So that first thing there, like I said, we have the points difference. The militia commanders here, as we can see, can lead English Caribbean militia forces all the way across the board. So with the untested commander, you get an 8-inch command range, so not terrible really if you figure that in. And then 1 command point to deal with. So that's really going to be the downside there. That 1 command point is going to have to be very carefully spent each turn, because that's really all you're going to get unless you run some of the other like upgrade or support characters that are out there. Yeah, so, and really with that 8-inch command range, unless it's your own unit, you're going to need to ideally keep other units that you want to spend it on relatively close, right? So aside from that, also they all do come with the same weapons, right? Pistol and a standard melee weapon. We should mention that. No other special rules though, and that's typically what you're going to see with the cheap option. So you do get the nice discount of not paying any points for them, but you pay in different ways with reduced command points, command range, command points, and no special abilities. So there's consequently nothing to see on the back there. Now, a good middle of the road option, of course, is the experienced commander. We're going to get a pretty decent jump there in command range, 4 more inches, 12-inch command range. That covers a decent amount of real estate across the board. We get another command point, which is also great. And then we get the inspiring rule, which we'll flip over. I love that these are just included on here. Helps people get to learn the abilities as well. So basically, all friendly units within the command range of this model may reroll any failed rally tests when the commander's unit is active. So pretty cool there. Useful ability to have. So, and kind of works as advertised, right? He's inspiring, they're active. If we're issuing some like rally orders and stuff like that, if we're not passing, we get a reroll from that. Now we go upgraded to the seasoned commander. 25 points is a hefty investment, right? Again, that's easily the cost of another unit in a lot of cases. But we get that massive bump in command range again, so 16-inch command range, double of what our untested guy is going to give us. Same command points though, but 16-inch command range is a good chunk of real estate on the board. We get inspiring still, but now we get 2 more abilities, and that's kind of the value of sometimes paying the points cost for these extra commanders, or this extra level here. We also get expertly drilled and high standing. So if we flip that over, we already saw what inspiring does. Expertly drilled is cool. The unit has the drilled special rule. So in addition, if this unit activates with a spade or heart and makes a successful dedicated shoot action with muskets, while in formation, the defending unit must roll an additional d10 when taking a fatigue test from the attack. Can be very useful. And piling on the fatigue is always a great strategy against the opponent's units, aside from just actually getting kills as well. Then high standing. Due to physical limitations and experience or arrogance, which I always find it funny when, due to inexperience, even though he's the most experienced commander, this commander does not move quickly or participate in acts of subterfuge. When a commander with high standing is attached to a unit with elusive, quick, scout, or skirmisher, that unit loses those special rules as long as the commander remains attached. So definitely something you got to pay attention to, right? In a lot of cases, there's a fair few units out there that have some of those rules, and you may actually want those units active. So just keep in mind which unit really you're going to attach these high-end guys to. It's something pretty common across the board. So that's the militia. We're going to take a look at the Buccaneers next. Alrighty, guys, now moving on here to the Buccaneer commanders. So again, we go from untested, experienced, up to seasoned. Same points differentials there. These guys can lead English Buccaneers, Brethren of the Coast, or Logwood Cutter forces. We do see some differences too, and that's one of the things I love, again, about Blood and Plunder. It's not that these guys are carbon copies of the militia, which we just looked at as far as abilities and things like that go. There's just so many different levels of variety in the game that there's just so much customizing on what your force will be able to do, points wise, ability wise, and all these things. So between the different nations, the sub factions, the commanders you choose, the level of commander, right? There's just so many nice variables, so that really should never be the same game twice. But let's jump in. These guys do come with a brace of pistols and a standard melee weapon, in contrast to the militia where it's just pistol standard melee. Here the points are a little different. So we saw 8, 12, and 16 with the militia. Here it's actually 4, 8, and 16. So the lower end guys really don't have much in command range here, and you're really going to want that. If you want that big command range of 16, you're obviously going to have to pay the price for it. And then same command points, though, 1, 2, and 2, respectively. So, again, if you're going cheap and you don't want to pay any points here, you're still going to, a commander. But that 4-inch range is not going to cover much ground. So typically probably just his own unit and maybe one that's really close by as far as the command or ability to spread out your command points. No special rules again, so we won't worry about that. Now, once we bump up to experienced, we double our command range to 8, which was, again, the low end on the militia. So decent enough, workable, 2 command points. And here now we get an ability that we haven't seen yet in this quick little review, lead by example. So if the unit that includes this commander causes an opponent's unit to be removed from the game, casualties or routing, all units in the commander's force may remove a point of fatigue, which is a fantastic ability that, when things are really working for you, and if it's like maybe you're down a little bit or you just got a lot of fatigue spread out, if you can start like doing that, maybe knocking out an opposing units, getting them to rout, or just outright removing them, and that again may dictate some of your choices throughout the game, because maybe at a key point it might make sense to do option A, but really if you have the ability to instead take out an opposing unit right now, does the ability to remove a command point, or not a command point, but a fatigue point across the board for yourself, does that carry other benefits for like later in the turn and next turn, right? So if you can kind of time this right, it can be super useful, and maybe even before other units activate. Like let's say this is like a top of the turn thing. You've done that, and boom, now you've killed off a unit. And you get to remove some fatigue. That can be super useful and really, again, help increase the efficiency of your actions and activations throughout the game. So love that ability. Now we bump up here to the Seasoned Commander. Again, 25 points. We're paying a good chunk of points for that. We get that sweet 16-inch command range, the 2 points. We still have Lead by Example, but now we get Commodore and Broadside. If you can't tell, these guys are somewhat geared towards naval action. Commodore is nice. When he's aboard a ship, its command range is increased by 12 when giving actions to units on other ships. So again, you're getting that extra value of that command range and paying the points for this guy between ships, because if you're running multiple ships, they're not necessarily going to be parked right next to each other, just in case, for like things like collisions and stuff like that. And this just gives you more flexibility to maneuver around and still being able to give command points to people on other ships. Or just even your own ship. I mean, some of the larger ships, that range will be useful as well. Now, finally, broadside is another great one. So all artillery fired during the commander's activation are fired simultaneously. Hence, it all counts as the same ranged attack, and all dice for the shoot test are rolled simultaneously. This may increase the chances of scoring a critical hit, which is the main thing of what that ability is going to try and help you get. Is, ideally you've bought multiple cannons for your ships, or at least multiple cannons are still active, and here you're just unleashing that full-on broadside and hoping to get some crits on the enemy ships and to start ruining and debilitating their ships in turn. So that gives you a quick overview of the Buccaneers. Again, lead by example is just a fun ability, and really can help build momentum for you or swing the game back in your favor with some well-timed unit wipes on the enemy forces. So next up, we'll take a look at the Pirate Hunters. Alrighty guys, moving on to the generic Pirate Hunters here. So again, we go from 0 all the way up to 25 points for our different experience levels. These guys can lead, unsurprisingly, English Pirate Hunter forces. Weapons here, another brace of pistols and standard melee weapon package here. Command range, on the shorter end, we go 4, 8 to 12. So even here with the seasoned guy, it's only a 12, but 12 is still very, very much workable, right? That's that 24-inch bubble. But yeah, when you go cheap, that 4-inch range is obviously not going to cover much real estate on the board. But again, 1, 2, and 2 command points. No abilities on the cheap end, so you gotta have a trade-off. You're not paying points for the commander. You're not going to get too many other bells and whistles. Here on the medium guy, though, instead of just having one ability like we've seen, we do get inspiring and broadside. Now we've seen that with the Buccaneers, but just real quick again here. Get ability to influence rally tests, and delivering broadsides with ships is brutal when you can get that to work right and hopefully land some crits with that. So having 2 abilities at that medium level experienced commander is actually pretty cool. But then we go with the Pirate Hunter commander. So here we get inspiring and broadside, but we add Commodore back in like we've seen with one of the other commanders so far. And again, Commodore is simply basically extending your command range on ships. So all in all, 3 very relevant abilities here for those guys. So again, rally test, broadside, delivering some damage, and when we pay the points for this, if we're running multiple ships, maybe a larger game, here we get the ability to extend that command range by another 12 to 24, which gives us some flexibility in how we maneuver about the board. And in the case of like some of the larger ships, 12 inches might not necessarily cover the whole ship, or even over to an enemy ship if you boarded and stuff like that. So being able to get that extra range is always useful here. So last up, we'll just take a look at the generic British commanders. Alrighty guys, so here we have the British commanders. Points-wise, we get a little bit of a difference here. We go from 0 to 10 to 20, in contrast to some of the other ones where we go 0, 15, 25. So all the way up from untested through seasoned. These guys can lead any British or English force. Main weapons here, basically as the joined unit. On the command ranges, we go 4, 8, and 12 again, and then 1, 2, and 2 respectively for the command points. Again, when we go the cheap route, we're not getting any other bells and whistles, so that's basically this guy. Again, typically going to be throwing that command point to your own unit or something that's super close by. Get a little bit more buff here with 8 inches and 2 command points, and with these guys, as it says, we can choose basically from the list, special rule from the British commander list. So, and then just to mention it here as well, right? So paying the 20 points, we get that 12-inch command range, but here we get to choose 2 of the special rules. So, and just to flip those over for you guys. So here we get to choose one of these. Here we can choose 2. We've seen Commodore, broadside, inspiring so far. Sailing Master is certainly useful as well. Tough is always a great one. Unwavering and strict as well as out there. But then also, if we know we're playing against a specific force, so maybe in like a one-off game or something like that, to make it more thematic, right? But it can be useful, I guess, throughout a tournament too. Vendetta against Spanish, Native Americans, or French. So obviously, you got to pick just one of those. But again, if we're playing on one-off, it's nice to know that we have that ability, and we can kind of custom tailor some hate against the force that we're going to be playing against. So that kind of rounds out a quick look, guys, at the generic British commanders. We'll have separate little videos on just all the named characters, because that would just really take the length of the video well beyond reasonable. So we'll have that as we work our way through the British and English special characters now, with some of their commanders being able to lead custom forces of their own. Again, we've done a whole series of videos on all the different factions and sub-factions. So this is just a quick look again at just the generic commanders, what they bring to the table for you. And again, the choices you got to make between, going cheap as far as your commander, maybe to squeeze in more models and units, all the way up to spending more points to get some of these other special abilities, which will give you more flexibility on the tabletop, and it's one of the nice choices that the game forces on you. So hope you enjoyed, guys. Hit us up in the comments if you have any questions or concerns, or just other thoughts on the British commanders. What are your favorite British factions to run? And what level of commander do you typically tend to run with for the different size games? Hit us up there. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll be back with more.